Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Mobland, and this is a new crime thriller coming your way from director Nicholas Maggio. And he has previously worked on not a lot, and this film focuses on a family man played by Shiloh Fernandez, who winds up teaming up with his brother-in-law, Kevin Dillon. And, they do a robbery. Except the issue is, because they're desperate, the film deals with the Rust Belt issues and, industry closing, mines closing. People become desperate and turn to crime when they don't have a whole lot of options, which is a very relevant thing, especially today in the Rust Belt and in inner cities. So it's an interesting kind of idea that's explored by this film. The issue is, they steal from the wrong people. And then they have Stephen Dorff's Clayton Miner, who's an enforcer for the mob, who starts coming after them because, of course, they stole mob money. And then you have Bodie Davis, played by John Travolta, who is the sheriff, who has a connection to these boys. And he is trying to keep the peace in this small town. One thing that I really appreciate about Maggio's script is how well he captures small town life. There's minor characters like a waitress or somebody who runs a gas station, and they have so much of, they embody that small town kind of character, and that environment is really well realized in this film. This film certainly hits a lot of beats that you expect in terms of a crime thriller. This story that I just explained to you is probably familiar. You've probably seen films do this. You've probably seen films do it worse. You've seen films do it better. But what I appreciate about this film as well is the characters. Now, our two, Shelby and Trey, who are the two that wind up doing the stealing, they're not particularly interesting per se in terms of their character depth. But I do feel like Sheriff Davis, played by Travolta, I think he has some interesting depth to him. And I think John Travolta does a really fine job with it. It is really, though, Dorff, as Clayton Miner, who really stands out as a character. And he's the one that we get to explore the small town life through. He's an outsider. He comes in. He's interacting with the people of this town. And he does it in such an interesting way. And he has such an interesting vibe, and he gives a really strong performance, and I think that's one of the most engaging parts of this film, and it really works. And in the end, I do think that this film has some shocking moments, it has some satisfying moments, it has some heartbreaking moments. This film challenges you in an emotional standpoint, and on some level, thematic standpoint. Narratively, it is what it is, and you expect it to be what it is. I do enjoy the environment that's created. It does have a pretty standard, smaller town kind of film atmosphere from a directorial standpoint. But in general, it has elements that really work. And I think this cast, especially a few of them, help elevate this material and make this a really fine crime thriller that I enjoyed watching. Even though there's some slower moments, and this clocking in at an hour and 50 minutes probably wasn't necessary, but in the end, I think this is rock solid and worth a watch. But those are my thoughts on Mobland. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.